in the spring of last year, I was asked a question when I was at the Treasury, which said, can we give all the details of all the tax loss by non-domicile? And the answer to that was no, we didn't have all of that information.
You said information isn't held on overseas income and gains that do not give rise to a tax liability in the UK.
Exactly.
Any information, implying you didn't have any information for it. Yet all of a sudden now you do have the information.
Exactly. But what's happened today and yesterday is that the Treasury were asked to look at the detail of this, and they've come forward with an objective estimate. They reckon there are 15,000 people in Britain who will end up paying the £25,000 charge.
So why couldn't you have given that answer in Parliament? Why do the civil servants now have it for a press release but didn't have it in Parliament? Ian,
this is completely...
Jenny, the Permanent Secretary of the Treasury has...
I'm sorry, one second. First of all, I don't think you should be drawing the Permanent Secretary of the Treasury into this row, because it's a political issue. Hold on a second.
George Osborne wrote to the Permanent Secretary.
You shouldn't be drawing... No, wait a minute. You shouldn't be drawing him because you lot took the decision. Deliberately, I think, to make it clear you didn't have these figures. Now, wait a minute. These figures that you are producing now are nothing more or less than guesstimates. You know that.
Nonsense,
and we took consultation on this one, and I don't think your figures stand up at all. And I think this is a game that you're playing out here. The reality is this is from the same government that told us they had no idea how many people were coming into the country under the immigration rules at all. You lost all track of that stuff. So why should the public believe a word you say about these figures?
The reason why Peter makes an important point is because the debate for the next weeks and the next months will be who is credible on the economy and who do you trust? Do you trust Gordon Brown and Alistair Darling, or David Cameron and George Osborne? David Cameron
let's move on.
Is making, and George Osborne are making
you
commitments.
Guys who withhold figures.
They have not got the money to pay for those commitments.
Well,
and when it comes down to it,
another...
it's exactly the same kind of conservative mismanagement of the economy, which 20 years ago led to rising mortgage rates.
Why do you read the Labour rule book? Can we move on to... Why don't you use your brain a little bit and not go on to the Labour rule book?
I think the public have a right.
I start using your brain, Ed.
Not what you another question spin, if I may, because I want to bring up another question.
The Labour Party rule book, you must say the following things.
Have the right to a serious debate.
We're getting very close to Mr Cameron's speech, so
if you're just going to denigrate people, that's not a serious debate.
Excuse me, there's no point in having a debate if everybody is talking over each other, so I'd like to move on, please.
This is a debate from which we will...
I'm sure we will continue. Let's move on to the subject of another controversy which has been playing out today, which is John Major's intervention into the debate about whether Gordon Brown was right or not to go to Iraq and to announce that 1,000 troops would be coming home by Christmas. Now, as he pointed out, 500 have already been previously announced, 270 are already back in the UK. He says that it's a cynical exploitation of the armed forces for political ends. Ed Balls? Has Gordon Brown tripped up on this?
Gordon Brown is making a statement to Parliament next week. In advance of that, the right thing for him to do is go out and see the troops on the ground and meet the generals. He also met with the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of Iraq came out and made a public statement about what was happening in the handover. Gordon Brown did the same. We're reducing, over a period of time, the number of troops out there. The idea that the Prime Minister shouldn't be visiting our troops and shouldn't be commenting publicly on what's going on. And it was the Conservative Party, once again, yesterday, playing the most dismal politics with what was going on.
Iain, and really, a quick reply to that?
I served as a soldier. Let me tell you something, Ed. You played a silly game yesterday. The game was this. Take the news away from the Tory party. There used to be a convention, and Peter knows this, that during other people's conferences, you didn't, unless it was urgent, you didn't make announcements like this. There was nothing. These troops aren't coming home next Tuesday. They're coming home some time away, so he could have waited to go to Parliament. He could then have gone on. No, I am cynical because your boss, who was Chancellor, was the one at the last budget who told us we had a tax cut. And then we discovered that he had raised the threshold so the worse off in Britain actually had a tax rise. I don't think I should believe a word he says.
And people in the country know.
Cynical stuff.
People in the country
really,
know.
really cynical. And what's sad about it? What's sad about this? I've served. Let me tell you something. Don't ever use the troops for your political gain. I think it's pathetic. Absolutely despicable.
I think it's deeply cynical, the suggestion that a serving Prime Minister who's out there meeting our generals and our troops on the ground, to be accused of playing politics
didn't
like
have to produce these numbers, didn't have to start announcing
it's offensive, and I think most people will think it's quite right. I think it's quite right that the Prime Minister should be
meeting,
to
see what emailers make of both of those discussions. Do keep your emails coming in. Let us know what you think, because election fever has, as you can tell, ratcheted up considerably this week. So just how likely is it for an autumn election?